Rockingham County Government and Spectrum 1304 present You've Got Grit. You've Got Grit, featuring Mary Martin of Madison, North Carolina. You've got grit. Grit is passion, fortitude, spirit, guts, tenacity, perseverance, persistence, nerve, determination, resolution, toughness, fearlessness. You've got grit. Mary Martin of Madison, North Carolina. Thank you for being with us, Mary. Who is Mary Martin?
Mary D. Martin. I use the D because in my church we have 3 Mary Martins, and I do not want to be confused with the other 2. I don't want them to have to take the blame for anything that I do, and I don't want people to allow me to take the credit for things that they do. So I am Mary D. Martin of Madison. I have 3 sons. One, Ronnie, is a professor at UNCG and A&T State University. My baby son, Stephen, works for a nonprofit in New York. And I have a son, Chris, that has deceased. I am a 35-year employee, past employee of Unify. Once I became displaced from Unify, I have always wanted to go to college. So I enrolled in Rockingham Community College, what they call a non-traditional student. I enrolled in Rockingham Community College, and after 2 years, I got an associate degree in early childhood education because I have always loved working with children. Let me back up to Wednesday. I received a call from Mabel Scott that said, I would like for you to come down and do a taping with me, and the segment is You've Got Grit. And I started to think grit. First thing I did was go to my phone to see what is grit. Since I have it, I need to know what it is. So I went to my phone and I looked up grit, and they were all those attributes and characteristics that Mabel talked about. Perseverance and tenacity and goal-oriented and courage and fearlessness. I said, okay, that's grit. I'm glad to know I have that. Some of the things that you may want to know that qualifies me for grit are some of the volunteer things that I do, some of the nonprofit things that I work with, some of the organizations. When I was at Rockingham Community College and graduated, I am now a member of the Rockingham Community College Foundation. I do work with that foundation. When I was in school as this non-traditional student, most of the time the oldest person in my class, I worked really, really hard because, again, that was my goal. And I had 3 sons that I wanted to have someone that they could look up to and know that regardless of where you are in life, you can always start. I didn't say start over, start. So that's what I did and loved it. I love Rockingham Community College. I got involved with a lot of things on campus. I was in a lot of the organizations and clubs, our Early Childhood Educators Club. I was the president of that for 1 year. And go figure, 1 year I was president of the Student Government Association, the non-traditional student. My grandson was playing AAU basketball at that time. And I would never miss a game on Saturday mornings. But when I went to the basketball games, I had a book and a highlighter, especially those books from my professor, Vicki Brinkley. All the theorists we had to learn. And Dr. Brinkley, you will be glad to know that you dominated 90% of my time because I wanted to do well. And those are some of the things that I did. I knew I had to have this stick-to-itness in order to make that happen. So Rockingham Community College, I owe a lot to them for just allowing me to redefine who I was, not start over, to start. So once I got out of Rockingham Community College, I have been a member of the Salvation Army. I have been a member of the NAACP, a member of the Order of the Eastern Star, that I'm a very proud member of the Beauty of Madison, number 383 in District 28. We do a lot of wonderful things. I've done that. I have also I'm a member of Beulah Baptist Church. In my church, I am the clerk. I am a member of the Pastor's Aid, where I serve as Assistant Secretary. I am a member of the Scholarship Committee, where I serve as Chairman. I am a member of the Media Committee, where I serve as Vice President. So I'm a member of a lot of committees and auxiliaries within my church because, again, I like serving and doing. I am a substitute for Rockingham County Schools that I dearly love, and they call me crazy because I love high school. I'd rather serve at the high school than anywhere in the county. My school of choice, McMichael High School. I hope that will not deter the other schools from giving me an opportunity to serve there, but I am a McMichael Fighting Phoenix. My 3 sons are graduates of McMichael High School, so I have a reason to be passionate there. Reidsville Middle School. I've done in the past SOS, Students of Success, at Reidsville Middle School for years. I have a passion for Reidsville Middle School and middle school students. I enjoy having an opportunity to encourage and empower students. I get joy out of awakening that sleeping giant within them that they don't know exists. I make sure they know that yes, you can, and I'm going to watch you while you do it. I love being that kind of motivator to those students that I come in contact with. When I'm in the schools every day, I try to identify a student that I can encourage, that I can tell them something that they may not hear during the course of the day, and sometimes things they may have never heard. I have a story of a young man that was at Rockingham High School when I did grad guides. He was not the brightest student, he thought. I will never go to college, Miss Mary, he thought. And I told him, oh, yes, you can. You just need to apply yourself. So years later, I happened to see him at Golden Corral, and nothing to do him but to come to see Miss Mary. His mom apologized for him disrupting a breakfast we were having. I told him, that's no problem. So he came over and he said, Miss Mary, I've got something to tell you. He was so excited. I said, what is it? He said, I'm in college. I'm at RCC. I said, that is so wonderful. That I am so proud of you. And every time I think of that conversation, it does something to me. He said, you said I could. I encourage everybody to be that person that tells one of those students, yes, you can. Even when they don't believe it themselves, encourage them, because that young man came back to me and said, I did it because you said I could. I think back and I said, Lord, what if I had been too busy? Or what if I had had my mind on something else? Or what if I hadn't taken the time just to say those few words? Where would he be? So let's all of us identify an opportunity that we can encourage, empower, and let our younger generation know, yes, you can. You don't believe it, but I know you can because I see something on the inside of you that you don't see. You're a little too close to the mirror.
And
So-
you know, you sound like that song by the Pointer Sisters. I know you can,
Yes, you can. Yes, ma'am. But those are the things that I love to do.
And-
Some of the
But you know, all of those things you're talking about, you started in Madison. You were born in Madison?
I was born in the country, Bethany.
Now, tell us a little bit about that.
I was born in Bethany. I lived with my grandmother. They were sharecroppers. And I lived there all my life. Went to school at Charles Drew in Madison. We were bused to Madison. 1969, the year of forced integration. I ended up graduating from Bethany High School. That was the first year of forced integration. Things weren't very good that year. At Bethany High School, they didn't want Afro Americans there, and I didn't want to be there. So it was a two-way street. They didn't want me, and I didn't want them, but I knew that's where I had to be. In Madison, we had some of the best teachers that encouraged us to do well, to excel, and that's what I did. There were times in my high school, Charles R. Drew, when the only name on the A honor roll was Mary Pratt. I was Mary Pratt back then. Only name on the A honor roll. So my goal was to be valedictorian. In our Afro-American schools, if you were smart and disciplined and well-mannered, you could go to the gym to watch graduation practice. You could go and hear the speeches made by the valedictorian and salutatorians. So I got an opportunity to do those things. And watching those students on stage, the smartest in their class, being able to make those speeches, my goal was to be that individual. I want to be valedictorian of my class. I want to be the one that make those speeches. I was grooming myself for that. 1969, I saw all those dreams go away because I had to go to the school nearest my residence, which was Bethany School. It was not the best year, but it was doable. And because I was so well prepared at Charles Drew, Bethany High School, my senior year, was not at all taxing. It was not at all challenging, and not putting down the school. I'm just saying that in my school, Charles R. Drew, those teachers had you well prepared for your future, and I appreciate that. I think my year at Bethany High School was made a lot easier because of those pioneers that had already paved the way for me. I can remember when I was in school, it was okay for other students not to know the answer, or not to be able to work out the question, or not to be able to diagram the sentence, but my teachers would tell me, okay, Pratt, you get it right. That's what they would call me, Pratt. So I was not allowed to not be great, and I appreciate that. I was pushed for that because they saw something in me, just like in that young fellow that I saw something in him. So my goal was to be an A&T Aggie, and I have not yet given up on that goal. At this age, I will be an Aggie. Before I go to glory, I will be an Aggie. Aggie pride?
Aggie pride.
I want to say that.
And you can do that too.
And that's one of my
That
goals.
can happen.
That's
can
on
happen.
my bucket list.
Yes, yes.
So when I got to Bethany, I knew what my plight was, so I went on and did well in school. I had never made a C in school in my life, ever. I made my first C at Bethany High School, ever in my life. That was devastating. Now, to some people, that means absolutely nothing, but I still have that report card with that C, just to remind me that it doesn't matter what people say or what people do. If you got it here, it doesn't have to be validated. It doesn't have, they don't have to define your worthiness. So I use that as a reminder that I am who I am because God says I am who I am. So that's kind of what it, and then I went to work at the textile plant because I didn't go to college. My goal was to go to college, but you're not going to have a lot of advisors that's going to help a little Afro-American girl get into a college. This is the first year of forced integration. They've got other things on their mind, and I wasn't one of them. So I began work at the textile company. And I used that as my platform for learning and teaching. So I did a lot of various jobs there. In the machine that came in, I wanted to learn how to run it. In a new process that came in, I wanted to learn how to do it. So I progressed through the ranks even in the textile company. I used that as my foundation for becoming great and becoming, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I used that as a avenue for becoming a teacher. So I did that, and And as I said, I advanced through the years and through the ranks. And before I became displaced with absolutely no college, I was a plant manager overseeing 600 individuals with just a high school diploma. But I had that grit, that drive, that extra. I didn't realize that's what that was, but now I know that's what that was that drove me to greatness and drove me to excellence. My sons, I became a widow at a very young age. So I had two sons, a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old. I was 6 weeks pregnant. I had to be an example for those three sons. I had to reach out and get that grit. They knew what my expectations were of them. I would sit them at the counter. They would do their homework while I was cooking their supper. And I would go around and I'd look at it. And sometimes I would have to tell them, I'm throwing this away, you're gonna start over. This is not acceptable. It got to the point where they had grown to know me well enough and what I expected of them, where they would look at it themselves and say, let me throw this away and start over. So I instilled that greatness and that ability to want to be great within them.
But where did all of this come from as a little kid growing up in Bethany? Your parents sharecroppers. Where did all that drive come from?
I often wonder, but I think what happened was I saw parents and I saw the way that they interacted with their children, and I wanted that. So not having that, I wanted to create it. So I created what I didn't have. So that when I became an adult, and my thing was, it wasn't becoming an adult, it was when I get big, this is what I want to do. So I just started at a young age. My granny, I love cooking. My granny, she cooked. So I wanted to learn to cook because I love cooking. So I would go in the kitchen with my granny, and even today, every time I go in the kitchen, I put on an apron. First thing my granny told me when you go in the kitchen is put on your apron. I put on my apron now. My grandson comes over and he bakes with me. He will ask me, Grandma, where's my apron? He puts on an apron. When you come into my kitchen, we put on an apron. So those things that I did not have, that drove me to become that. I wanted my children to know what that was like. So that started me going, and I always wanted to be smart because I saw that the smart kids got stuff. That's what we call it, stuff. You got to get up in front of the class and you got to read, you got to go to the board and work the problems, you got to do all those things. I wanted to do that. I did not want to be one sitting in the back, waiting and waiting and waiting. I wanted to make my own way.
So you've been saluted by your hometown of Madison, and you've also graduated from the Rockingham County Citizens Academy, and you were quite a leader. In fact, when your class graduated, you ended up doing a special project with the animal shelter.
Yes. And I told my fellow classmates, we did, I think it was maybe 10 or 12 weeks of the Citizens Academy. And my time is very valuable. And I told them, I'm not coming down here 12 weeks and leave and do nothing because I've invested time. I said, what we need to do is, we need to do a project with the animal shelter because they were one of the entities that spoke to us during our Citizens Academy, and they were one of the entities that needed help. So I talked with my classmates and I sent emails and calls and asked them, I said, why can't we do that? So some of those bought into that. So we started a pet food drive. I had already done a pet food drive with my Order of the Eastern Star District 28. We had done a pet food drive. So the Citizens Academy, we decided we were going to do a pet food drive. Then I was approached by one of the students in my church that is a Junior Beta Club member. And she was saying, Miss Mary, we need to do a project and I don't know what to do. I said, I got one for you. We're going to gather pet food. So I solicited her and some of the other members of the Junior Beta Club, and we started this project. At the end, we had collected 750 pounds of pet food and supplies for the animal shelter.
And on behalf of all of them over there, thank you, thank you, thank
Yes.
you. So, Rockingham County, why do you love it?
I love Rockingham County because of the great things that we have. My town of Madison, and you said I was saluted by my town, and I must, whenever I introduce myself, I am Mary D. Martin, the 2019 Good Citizen of the Year for the town of Madison. We are doing great things in Rockingham County. I was just excited to hear of Nestle's coming with those jobs coming here, our town of Madison. We have an awesome mayor, Myers. He has worked diligently on the Lindsay Bridge project to where on October 16th, they're gonna have some kind of a groundbreaking or a ceremony there. And that's going to be a great thing for that end of the county. So we're constantly looking at ways to improve, ways to bring people together, things that we can do to enhance the community. My Beauty of Madison ordered the Eastern Star, and that's a project that I am just so elated to do with my sisters. We do a project called Bringing the Neighbor Back to the Neighborhood. And Mabel has been so gracious to be our MC for that program, her and her husband. That's a program whereby we bring the whole entire county together with fun, fellowship, and good food. We have games all day for the children. We have businesses that will donate their time and their energies into making that a prosperous day. My dear friend Lee Blackburn will come and do identikits for the kids. I have another friend of mine, Rhonda Neal, that comes and brings bounce houses, cotton candy, and so many, and I'm not going to start naming, but last year we partnered with the Madison Med and Recreation Department, and their director is Lee Mitchell. And we have a good partnership with them and work well with them, but bringing the neighbor back to the neighborhood. Back when I was little, you knew your neighbors, and your neighbors knew who you were. You couldn't do anything in the country that somebody didn't tell your parents, and it was okay, that you were corrected by them. And I would like to see us get back to some of those things where we take care of each other. And that's why I said, let's bring the neighbor back to the neighborhood. That person that we don't know, that person that we need to know, that person that can be our friend if we know them. So we're bringing the neighbor back, and it's just an awesome, awesome thing. We also do in December, from that, my Beauty of Madison or the Eastern Star, we would do Wind Beneath My Wings, honoring our neighborhood hero. We go out and we seek out those individuals that are unsung heroes that give so tirelessly of their time, trying to make our county a better place. A lot of times those people are overlooked and underappreciated. So we would come together and identify some of those individuals and just have a celebration for them. Give them awards and just love on them for the things that they have done. So those are two of the things that are dear to my heart, that my sisters and brothers work diligently on trying to make happen. This year, I don't think that'll happen because of the virus, but please stay tuned, because 2021 we're definitely going to do that. But we have heroes all over the county that nobody knows about, and we try to bring those people forward just so you can see it doesn't just happen. There are people that are giving of their time, of their talents. They're making sacrifices just to make Rockingham County better.
And you are one of those heroines, and that's why we wanted to interview you. We knew a little bit about you, but I think we've heard a lot more today. And this is why we wanted to showcase and highlight Mary D. Martin of Madison, North Carolina. You've got grit, Mary D. Martin of Madison, North Carolina. And I bet many of you out there know a Rockingham County citizen you describe by saying, "You've got grit." What we'd like you to do is email a paragraph describing a Rockingham County citizen you think Rockingham County government and Spectrum 1304 should interview for "You've got grit." Email your paragraph to mscott@co.rockingham.nc.us. That's mscott@co.rockingham.nc.us. Send your short paragraph about somebody who you think we should highlight on "You've Got Grit." Thanks again, and we'll see you next time for "You've Got Grit."